All right, today we're going to dive into something pretty intense. We are tackling one of the most explicit and, frankly, difficult chapters in the entire Bible, Ezekiel 23. It's a passage that's so graphic it makes most people really uncomfortable. But stick with me, because understanding why it's so graphic reveals an incredibly powerful message about betrayal and disgust.
And that brings us right to the big question, the one you're probably already asking yourself. A story about two prostitute sisters in the Bible? Seriously? How on earth did that get included in a sacred text? Well, let's find out.
So to understand this chapter, the absolute first thing you have to grasp is that this is not a literal story. It's a shocking allegory, a metaphor that's specifically designed to provoke a strong emotional reaction. The prophet Ezekiel is using this graphic narrative to hammer home a point that he's pretty sure everyone has been ignoring.
So our main characters are two sisters. We have Ohola, the elder, and Oholiba, the younger. And their story of, well, whoring, as the text puts it, begins when they're young, back in Egypt. And from there, it just gets more and more corrupt and tragic.
Now, the language here isn't just shocking for shock's sake. As one scholar puts it, even though the theme is distasteful, we have to appreciate that this is the language of unspeakable disgust. That feeling of nausea you might get from reading it, that's intentional. The prophet wants us to feel disgusted because he's trying to communicate God's own unspeakable disgust with his people's behavior.
So that means we need to decode this thing. The sisters aren't real women. Their actions are symbols for something much, much deeper. Let's break down exactly who and what they represent.
First up is Ohola. She's the older sister, and she's the allegorical figure for Samaria, which was the capital of the northern kingdom of Israel. And here's a key piece of context. By the time Ezekiel was writing, that kingdom had already been destroyed.
And then you have the younger sister, Oholiba. She represents Jerusalem, the capital of the southern kingdom of Judah. Now, this was Ezekiel's home. This was the kingdom that was, at that very moment, right on the brink of its own destruction.
This right here is the core of the whole metaphor. The whoring is not about physical sex. It's the Bible's most graphic symbol for spiritual adultery. It represents Israel and Judah abandoning their covenant with God to chase after two things: the idols of other nations and treacherous political alliances with them.
And the detail here is just incredible. Even their names are part of the code. Ohola and Oholiba both begin with Ohel, which is the Hebrew word for tent. This connects them directly to places of worship. Ohola can mean her tent, pointing to the north's illegitimate worship system. But Oholiba means my tent is in her, a direct reference to God's temple being right there in Jerusalem. So how does this all build into a historical story? Now that we kind of have the key, we can follow the tale of these two kingdoms just like Ezekiel lays it out.
Ezekiel traces this whole path to ruin. It starts with spiritual infidelity in Egypt. Then Ohola, who is Samaria, actively pursues an alliance with the Assyrians, even adopting their culture and their gods. But the tragic irony is that she is ultimately destroyed by the very lover she lusted after. And this isn't just some story. It's a direct reference to the Assyrian conquest of the northern kingdom back in 722 BC.
And right here, this is the gut punch of the chapter. Oholiba, that's Jerusalem, saw exactly what happened to her older sister. She had a front row seat to the consequences. And what did she do? She didn't learn the lesson. The text says she became even more corrupt. She doubled down.
And when you put them side by side, the difference is just stark. Ohola's sin was foundational. She chased after the Assyrians. But Oholiba's was so much worse. She saw the outcome, totally ignored the warning, and chased alliances with not just the Assyrians, but also the Babylonians. Hers wasn't just a mistake. It was a defiant choice, made with full knowledge of what could happen.
This kind of defiance leads directly to judgment. And just as the metaphor for the sin was graphic, the description of the punishment is equally, if not more, shocking. The prophecy against Jerusalem is horrifically specific. It talks about mutilation, about cutting off the nose and ears. This isn't just generic destruction is coming language, it's a vivid and absolutely brutal image.
So again, you have to ask the question, why this level of detail? Why not just say, you will be destroyed? Because these specific punishments would have been instantly recognizable to Ezekiel's original audience. And this is where the historical context is so important. This wasn't just Ezekiel making things up to be scary. This was the Assyrian playbook. Their own royal records, which we have today, actually boast about these exact acts of terror, mutilation, cutting people up. So Ezekiel is telling his people, you know all those horror stories you've heard about what happens in war? That is what's coming for you.
And this brings it all back to the metaphor. In some ancient laws from that part of the world, a known punishment for an adulteress was to have her nose cut off, to publicly mark her as an object of disgust. The physical punishment directly mirrors the spiritual crime. The beautiful prostitute will be made ugly.
Okay, so let's bring all of this together. We've decoded the metaphor, we've traced the history, and we've understood the judgment. What is the ultimate point the prophet is trying to make with this shocking allegory?
We come back one last time to our central question. After all this, why was it necessary to use this vulgar, offensive, and deeply disturbing metaphor in the Bible?
Ultimately, the metaphor is designed to be felt, not just understood. Ezekiel chose the most repulsive imagery he could think of because he wanted his audience to experience, on a gut level, how God felt about their idolatry and faithlessness. He wanted them to be sickened by their own sin, to see it not as some political strategy, but as a vile and disgusting act of betrayal.
And the chapter ends with this stark, chilling declaration. After all the whoring, all the betrayal, and all the brutal judgment, the final outcome is an undeniable recognition of God's authority. It's a powerful and unsettling conclusion, leaving us to ponder the weight of loyalty, betrayal, and the consequences that always follow.